Hello, everybody. It's Saturday morning. Thank you for joining Coffee Code and Chat. Today, we're going to talk about layoffs in tech and getting hired in tech. My thoughts about it, obviously, and what can we do if there's anything we could do when layoffs happen, or if you're learning to code. Like, should you be depressed about a lot of layoffs in tech? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. And if you have any questions, definitely ask them in the comments. A lot of people ask me, why do you only allow comments for subscribers? Well, that's because these live streams is a way for me to chat with my subscribers, and it's like a benefit, something extra that I want to do. It's like, hey, listen, you're supporting the channel, and so I'm going to make these conversations around people that are part of the community and our subscribers. And if this is something that you're not like really into, I totally understand, but I wanted to make something cool for my subscribers. And welcome. And so today we're going to talk about layoffs and getting hired in tech. And if you're joining us live, awesome. And if you're not, you could always rewatch these streams later. Let me know if the music is too loud. I'll already turn it down. And we have Northern Chip saying hello. Well, hello. And so while people jumping in, what have I been up to? Just the same, coding, trying to improve my coding knowledge. I've been really enjoying Remix JS, which is pretty cool. And on my off time, I've been like trying to play some music, but there's so much stuff to do that I'm like, man, it's a lot of work, which is fine. And Jazz GR saying hello. Well, hello and welcome. And so today, if you're jumping in, and I do want to have a conversation, so definitely ask questions in the chat. But we're going to talk about layoffs, tech jobs. What does it mean for people that are getting hired? What does it mean for people that are, working? It's a very heavy topic because I don't know if you noticed, a lot of companies, it's like a trend. It's like a fad. A lot of companies are hiring. I mean, laying people off. What am I saying? But a lot of people are hiring too. So it's not like it sucks that people get laid off, but at the same time, there's plenty of companies that are still hiring. And, maybe it might not be the company that you want, but definitely not like a complete, let's fear everything and it's the end of the world. Oh my gosh. Hello, Engine Boy. Great to see you here. It always happens. It's a normal step. One thing I would say, I do watch some of these like VC shows, which basically the consensus been, especially among startups, if, back in like a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, it's like very easy to raise capital for startups. And now it's just not the case. And so a lot of companies have to make these tough decisions and to lay people off. Obviously, there's no good feeling about getting laid off. And people are probably wondering, why do you keep talking about layoffs right now? Well, because no company is safe. Maybe there's some companies safer than others, and there's many reasons. I just want to say, if you do get laid off, it's not your fault. It's just the way the economy is. It's the way the company decided to make decisions. And from the standpoint of, I know like sometimes there's like mega companies, and I work for a smaller company. That decision, I feel, is difficult in the sense that we need to make certain hard choices to allow, our company to move forward. And so, I can't of course, it's easy to be mad at everybody, and it actually is pretty crazy when that happens. And so we're going to talk about layoffs, tech, and jobs. First, let's talk about layoffs. And if you have questions or want to share your experience, let me know. And thank you all of you joining. And Ankita, great to have you here. We did a live stream with her last week. It was phenomenal. If you haven't checked it out, check out the live stream I did with Ankita. It's really good. Always love having guests on. So if you ever want to be a guest on this show, definitely come in. So the reason I'm talking about layoffs, because no company is immune at this point. And believe it or not, my company had, Oh my God. Internet gods, what are you doing to me? So if you're still here, we're back. I hope. The stream did drop because my internet in my house decided to go like, hey, you're talking about some heavy stuff. So we're just gonna like, you know, we're gonna cut you off. We're gonna cut you off. But I'm back, and hopefully on YouTube, when you're rewatching this video, it's not gonna be a thing. But we're back. We're back. The internet did decide to say, hey, I don't care for you. Let's get out of here. Here we go. Yeah, we're back. So hopefully some people will jump back in. It doesn't matter. It's fine though. But yeah, Northern Chim is lagging. Yeah, something's up with my internet. They did do updates. I don't know what's happening. People are back though. That's good. Brian, what's up? Hello. Stream dropped. Yes, you're absolutely right. Jesus, why? And we're back. Yep. I thought it was just me. No, it's not you. It's me. But thank you for still being here. Yep, we're back. Yep, it's back. Here we go. Here we go. So talking about layoffs, and before my stream was dropped, we're back. And if it happens, I'll usually try to fix things within like as quickly as I can, and I'll be back. So if I do have interruptions, like please hang on for like 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, like yeah, anything goes, I guess. But you need to get some fiber internet in Texas. I thought I did have some good internet in Texas. I guess it's not a thing. So talking about layoffs, like I mentioned before, I was cut by my internet. There's no way to avoid it sometimes, and the economy is in a weird spot right now with everything that's going on in the world. So what can you do? And sometimes, like, number one, if you do get laid off, it's like it's not your fault, right? You're not to blame. It's just the way the economy and the situation is. I know it could be like really hard to deal with, right? And I got lucky. I'm still here. And at the same time, it's kind of good to think about like there's a lot of companies. Brian is like, I'll come down there, get you set up. Yeah, no, they'll be good. They'll be good. They'll be good. You should do that. You should come visit anyway. But what I'm saying is that that's a reality of just work, and there's periods and cycles where people go through hard times, bad times, and with everything going on in the world, with this level of this uncertainty, it's very difficult. So I know it's hard for me, and I know like Engine Boy said I might get laid off. Things are not going good. Yes, software jobs are still worth it, right? They're still worth it in upcoming years. And here's we're gonna talk about a lot of hard things, but here's the thing that I want to say. I have a friend. He works at a company in Texas called HEB. It's a supermarket chain, and they're always hiring, right? I have a friend who literally the other day, like before I found out the news about the place that I work, my friend and we went for a walk last week, and he's like, man, my company's hiring, Paul. Like, go ahead, like send out your resume. We'll definitely like get you an interview. And I'm like, no, I'm really happy with the company that I'm in. And I'm still happy with the company and I'm in. And I don't want to leave until I can help it. But there are companies that are hiring. So here's the thing, like the company that my friend worked for, that he's like, hey, they're hiring. And the jobs are still definitely worth it and you're still going to get paid pretty well. I mean, again, depending where you live, but in US, like it's still very good, like field to get into. And I would definitely not tell you to lose hopes, just because, like I was saying, my friend works for a medical company. They're always hiring. So medical companies, food companies like HEBs, supermarket companies, companies that need to provide services and continue to provide services that are necessities and not like nice to haves, right? Like, they're always going to be hiring. And so the thing that I would say is, if you are going through tough times, look in the companies in your area, which are like necessity companies that also need software engineers, rather than just the traditional tech companies, and apply to those, right? Like you'll have like a good chance of getting in. And there's still, like with every, startup that doesn't do well, there's other startups that are starting out. So startups is another like way to get hired. I know working for startups, sometimes it could be not as secure as working for like a different company. That's what people say. But I would argue that there is no job security, in a sense, like our parents used to have, where at least in US, you're able to work for one company for 20 years and then get a pension. Like none of that exists. So I'm going to talk about 3 things because obviously like it's very easy for, and again, I'm probably speaking from my opinion and maybe most people in US. Maybe it's not you, maybe it is you, I don't know. So don't take it the wrong way. But it's very easy to get complacent at the place that you work and start taking things for granted. Or we like to imagine that the opportunities that we have will always be there. And you know what? I used to have a fiance, now I don't have a fiance, right? So that just happens, right? Same thing. You used to work somewhere and now you laid off, it happens. So why does it hurt? Like, why does it hurt when people lay off? Well, sometimes it might hurt because you feel like your company who might have told you everything was going good and then they have to give you good news, you feel betrayed. Okay, that's one thing. Okay. Why else do you feel bad about like layoffs? Well, you had friends, right? Maybe your friends got laid off and you didn't. Maybe all of you got laid off and it just hurts and it's terrible. Here's another issue why it hurts is because you have bills, you have family, you have kids to support. And so when you get laid off, you got to be like, man, I got to find another job ASAP and like I need to pay my bills. The good news with a lot of tech companies is that a lot of tech companies, they offer severance packages, right? Whatever, I don't know like what every company does, but sometimes you'll like after you get laid off, you still get like a severance package of 3 months or whatever. So you do have this buffer. Now, with that being said, I don't like to think of and counting on external forces to deal with layoffs, right? I don't want to assume that my company is going to have a good severance package. I don't want to assume that I'm not going to get laid off. And so for me, like going through this, I have to like kind of brought me back to my like, hey, I got to keep my sword sharp. So number one, if you're still working, I'm going to just like talk of like, and please comment on stuff, ask suggestions, ask questions, because I love to hear from you. But if you're still working, number one, and I know sometimes you can't control it, but make sure you're part of work that you do in your company that is actually like brings a lot of value to the business. So at least like that way, it's like if they do layoffs, maybe I might not be the first person to go, which is hard to control, right? So what can you control? Number one, always keep your sword sharp, meaning like keep an updated resume all the time, even though they're not as effective now, but still have an up-to-date resume. Number two, actually forget number one. Number one is you need to be networking with people, making friends and making connections. I'm a big proponent of going to meetups, meeting like getting involved in communities, talking to people. I can't tell you how like I met a bunch of people on YouTube and Coding Cody or like Dev Junkie Cody or Dev Cody. I forgot like his YouTube name. I'm like, just my brain is like, but I met him on YouTube and through his connection, I was able to, he reached out to me. He's like, hey, my company is hiring. Do you want to apply? Send your resume. And I did. So making connections is the best thing you can do. So while you're working, right, you should not be taking things for granted. You should be getting out there, making connections, introducing people. By the way, a lot of the people that like at tech companies, and Theo made like a really good video on Theo Ping GG, like you could check out his YouTube channel, but he mentioned like how a lot of the people that did get laid off from like big companies like Google, Amazon, like Facebook, insert your favorite FANG name there, they're back in the market, and guess what? They're going to be the first people to hire, right? They have the experience, they have the, you know, they worked at companies for a while, they might be senior engineers, they might get hired not because of their, like obviously their experience, because it does matter, but the reason why they're going to be first to consider it in the job market is because they have connections. They have friends in other companies. They have relationships that they build, so they could reach out and be like, hey, like I'm laid off, like what, like, you know, what opportunities do you have? And they reach out to the network, and they're going to be the first ones to get hired. So Theo made like a argument that using the old resume way where you just send blindly your resumes doesn't work, and that never worked for me, so I'm not surprised. But what works is referrals, like so, and recommendations. You could probably still use recruiters, but referrals to me and making connections number one, because that's how you're going to find your next opportunity in a tough market. So if you're still working, don't take your job for granted. Do the best that you're there doing. But number one, network, make friends to whom you could reach out, participate in, in live meetups, in online meetups. Number two, here's another thing that I didn't do personally before, but I'm starting to do more now, is get involved behind projects, open source projects. For instance, like obviously, like I'm involved with Strappy. Like another love in my heart is Remix. Getting out there and contributing to open source projects, like number one, that's going to help you build a relationship. And number two, any contribution that you make to open source where you provide value will always look better than your homemade projects that you did for yourself. Like any client work, any work like that you could point to in the wild, like for instance, not in the wild, like, hey, check out this cool website I did that it's only hosted on my domain and nobody else knows about it. It's in my portfolio, versus like, hey, I created this plugin you could check out in this company's marketplace. It's pretty awesome. Or check out, this open source project I've been contributing. Check out all the PR requests I submitted, and let's see it here. Let me just look at the comments for a second before I get too far. Yep. Engine Boy says, it's been 10 to 15 days, no work. Seems the company has lack of projects or not getting clients. Man, that sucks. That's terrible. And that's just the reality. And I know now the country's is even more competitive and really harder. Like a lot of people complain. I was talking to Ankita on the last live stream, and dude, India is like super hyper competitive. Not even super, it's hyper competitive. And to make it there, like I feel like it's way harder than anywhere else. Just let me know if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's really difficult. And so I'd be like, sorry if I can't pronounce your name. Subedi says, hello. Yes, crazy times you're living in, 100%. But that's not, like, believe it or not, like tough times are normal. And there's things that we can't control that are out of our control, but the things that you can't control, you should be on top of, which we'll talk about in a second. And Paul, out of context, why Remix? Because Remix is amazing. To me, like, I just feel, and maybe it's like a personal bias, but after I started using it, just the way you use the loader function, the action function to mutate data, get data, like it just fits the way I think. And so I'm able to be productive, like faster and better. Another cool thing about Remix is that they really focus on using straight up like, web default APIs. Like, they don't obfuscate certain functionality. So like the way you submit the form is the way you would normally submit the form with like JavaScript and like PHP, like if you will, and so you don't have this obfuscation. You're literally using web technologies as they're meant to be. So it's pretty awesome. I love it. I'm going to keep doing it. Speaking of building your network, right? Because, Subedi did ask about like why I love Remix. So I fell in love with Remix because this guy Guga came on my company live stream that I work, and he told me, I was like so blown away. I'm like, Remix so awesome. Like, and I was like a complete Remix noob. I'm like, I know nothing about Remix, and this is why like networking, building connections, super important. It's going to be out of context of Layoffs of getting a job, but please follow along this story. It's gonna kind of make sense in a little bit. And so I was a complete like noob to Remix. I didn't know Remix, so I was like, man, I really like Remix. How can I get involved? And so Jason, I was damn, man, I'm doing good. I can't complain. You're looking for a new job now. Wish me like, hey, Jason, you'll get there. You'll find it. There's still many companies that are hiring 100%. Is it easy? No, but that's just the expectation that people should have. By the way, if you haven't smashed the like button, you don't have to. Smash it for me, but smash it for all the folks in the comments. Smash it if my face looks funny. I don't know. Like the stream for any reasons else except me, right? Because I want to support all the people that are having a good time in the chat right now, or not because we were talking about some heavy subjects. But here's the thing. I didn't know anything about Remix. I was new to Remix. I was like, how can I get involved with Remix? So first I tried building a project. I was like, this is really exciting. This is really cool. And I'm like, oh, they have a Discord channel. I could join their Discord. But I was like, you know, it'd be better. Let me look if there are any meetups. Are there Remix meetups in Austin, Texas? And there is. There's an amazing Austin Remix meetup hosted by an amazing dude named Brooks. And so I went to the meetup. The first time I went, I didn't talk. I just watched. I looked at everybody, you know, kind of was like shy. Then I went to another meetup with them, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I love Remix. And then I was talking to Brooks. I'm like, hey, I'm like really, really new, but I'm like looking at building a project, and I'm having such a good time with Remix. And he's like, hey, you know, Paul, if you ever wanted to talk, go ahead and, you know, talk and even small presentation. You could even do something with like that will take 5 minutes. So I was like, wow, this is awesome. So I made a presentation that was like 5 minutes long about data loading and Remix, and I gave it at the meetup. And I was like, wow, this is so cool, getting involved, participating, giving like back and providing value in places that I can. And I was still a complete noob. I was so new that I still didn't use TypeScript. And go like couple of weeks, couple of months, I became somewhat regular giving talks when I can. I mean, regular, I gave like 3 talks at the meetup. And the cool thing, like Brooks, like he's like, hey, Paul, I really like enjoy your talks. You know, it'd be cool. And because I really feel your passion for Remix, why don't you, like, I want to connect you with some people. So he connected me with Git Nation, who hosts a bunch of conferences. And I ended up emceeing Remix Conf in Europe, which was pretty awesome. So I was literally like the co-host of the conference because I made a connection with someone that I would have never met if I never went to a meetup. And this is why I'm telling you, regardless if you're working or laid off, you should all be going to meetups. You should all be growing your network. But to take this story farther, I've been building Remix apps. I've been sharing my experience on Twitter. I've been following people on the Remix team. I've been sharing what I'm learning. I'm right now recording videos on Remix and what I learned, and people notice, right? And so I actually did a call for papers to the next Remix Conf that's coming up, and my talk was called like Superpower Remix and Headless CMS. Like, you know, it's going to be pretty cool talk from the standpoint, if you're never tried Remix, this is why it's awesome. This is why I should use it. And look how cool it is with like a headless CMS. But the reason why my talk got accepted is not from the standpoint that like they just saw it and like, hey, here, like nobody. Yeah, maybe like obviously the talk needs to provide value to the community. And by the way, it's not the main stage. It's going to be like this backup talk, which is still fine for me. But the reason, again, I'm telling you the story is that it happened through my networking, making connections, participating in the community, getting noticed, and reaching out, that now people look at me like, oh, okay, Paul's done some stuff in the community. He's definitely trying to impact the community in positive ways. Let's give him a chance on this talk. And this happens over time. So while you're working, or if you're laid off, the number of things you need to do is reach out to your network, reach out to your friends, and go ahead and, hey, what's up, Alex, Tech Rally in the house. Go subscribe to Tech Rally. I want his channel to be bigger than mine. Tech Rally is an awesome dude. We do Not Null podcast. You could find it on, if somebody like wants to throw the link in the chat, Not Null podcast. I'm kind of like can't do too many things at once, but Tech Rally is awesome. He has a great YouTube channel. I want him to be bigger than I am so I could be motivated to continue to kill it on YouTube. I mean, you know, do my best. But anyway, coming back to the talk, is networking to get a job is the most important thing you could do. Having friends that could refer you. I have never submitted over 400 resumes. I know this sounds like a very dickish thing to say. And the reason why, and I know many people that have, is because I always had friends. I know that sounds like unfortunate. I know it sounds like that's not fair. It is not fair. It's a lot of times it's who you know and someone who could refer you to a company. And I like how Tech Rally is using like, no, don't subscribe. Meaning no, please go subscribe. I'm just teasing. Alex is awesome. But anyway, all my jobs, I made a video where I talked about every job I had is through some sort of connection, some sort of networking, and always with referral. And here's the truth about blindly sending resumes and why you should still do it, but build networking faster. Focus on that. So I applied to IBM by blindly sending my resume. That was the only time I sent a blind resume out there. And sure enough, I get the computer response that's like, nope, we did not even consider, we didn't even look at your resume. We just straight up said, hell no. And then I called my friend who works at IBM, and I was like, hey, I applied to IBM. They rejected me. He's like, what the hell's wrong with you? He literally looked at me like, what's wrong with you? You know me. I work at IBM. You would have, like he said, if you gave me your resume, I would have went to our hiring manager. I would have gave your resume. And as a trusted employee of IBM, I would have referred you by saying, hey, Paul is great. He did A, B, C, and D, and let's give him a chance. And so he said through the referral, I would have 100% would have at least had an interview. Doesn't mean I would have gotten hired, but that's the power of networking. It's Tech, to your point, I'll get back to you in a second. Very good point you just made. Because of networking, I was able to get opportunities, and every job I had. For those of you who don't know, just to kind of hit it home, why networking, regardless if you're working, if you're laid off, should be your number one focus. Let's take a look at my career. And you could always, if Paul's making stuff up, go look at my LinkedIn. Like my first job, before I became a developer, I couldn't get hired anywhere. So my friend and I, we tried to go freelancing. So I worked for this company called Fluid Logic. Was it successful? No, it wasn't, but we did build React templates. It was pretty cool. While doing that, that was because I was just like, I need something. So my friend's like, hey, I have this freelancing company. Like, let's try to do some stuff together. Next, I was at the time still teaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and we had a client who owned a marketing agency in my area. And she's like, and I talk to everybody. I always ask, what do you do? Wow, that sounds so cool. And she's like, well, we also make websites using WordPress. And I was like, oh, I know WordPress. I built a bunch of websites. This is a while ago, so I was still learning to code, still learning React. I wasn't the greatest at React yet, but I was pretty familiar with WordPress, some basic PHP, dangerous enough to be able to take a theme, set up a website, and update the theme in like any way that you want. And I literally asked her, like, are you hiring? Because I'm looking to transition careers and looking to get to a new role, new position. And she's like, well, we're not hiring right now, but we're doing internship. And so through her connection, I started on an internship working at her company 25 hours a week doing WordPress stuff. After the internship, she was like, hey, we really like what you're doing. We really want, like, you know, we have more clients coming on. We'd like to hire you like full-time as a contractor. I'm like, yeah, perfect. And so I became a contractor again through that connection. While working there, I had two friends, Jeff and Stephanie, who moved to Texas from Boston, and they were telling me like, Paul, like, listen, you got to move to Texas. It's really awesome. And if you get here, Jeff and I will introduce you to our network. We'll introduce you to our connections, and we'll hook you up, right? At least you'll know people here, and there's a lot more tech jobs opportunities. So I moved to Texas, and guess what? Through connections between Jeff and Steph, they got me hooked up with the companies I worked for with interviews through referrals. So this is why I know it's not fair, but this is why I'm trying to hit the home, like hammer the point home. Referrals, making friends, networking is number one, right? Obviously you should have some sort of skill that you could pass the interview, but right now, like if you don't have a good network to reach out where you could feel like you could ask people for referrals, you got to work on that. And so I got a job at a medical HR company through Stephanie. She literally be like, hey, I know this great developer with React. He's using the same tech we're using at the company. He's going to be a perfect fit. And so I went to the interview. Luckily, I passed the interview. I got hired. Now, worked at the company for a year and a half. How did I get my next job? Let's talk about it, just to prove this point of networking. I know like a lot of you are sick and tired of listening to me, and I'm sorry. Sorry if you're sick and tired. But I just want to be honest with you and tell you that this is what worked for me. as an older person switching careers late in life. I'm 42 now, so I literally switched careers in my late 30s. So you can do it. Like, you can do it. And if you're younger, you're like, no excuses. So here's the thing, like my following job. So when I was teaching jiu-jitsu, remember I told you about that WordPress job I got because I was very comfortable with WordPress while in jiu-jitsu. And this is why it's also good to do like group sports. Believe it or not, jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, so many people work there that like not work there, that train jiu-jitsu that are upper management in companies. Like I mean, I could talk about this forever, but a lot of my connections came from doing like a public sport in a group and making connections. Meetups do the same thing. But while doing jiu-jitsu, I met this guy, David. And David at the time, this was like 4 or 5 years ago, was looking for a React developer. And he's like, Paul, like, I know you've been like getting into coding. And then he literally said, like, I'm not looking for WordPress developers to disqualify me right away. I was like, that's fine. He's like, do you know any React developers? I was like, yeah, I do. I know my friend Jeff. Jeff was, by the way, the person that convinced me to move to Texas. And I referred Jeff to David. And this was like 5-6 years ago. And Jeff started working with David. And 3.5 years later, that point, my React skills were better. At least I'd like to think so. And Jeff and David reached out to me, and they was like, hey, like, Jeff's been telling me, man, you've been killing it with React. You do good work. And Jeff said that, you know, if we were to hire someone, you should be the first person to consider. And do you see how I connected David with Jeff? And then Jeff then reconnected me with David, and I ended up getting hired through that connection. Networking, providing value, super duper important. And so I ended up getting hired at that job. Worked there for like a year and a month, 2 months. I love that job. If I did not have this new opportunity where I'm working now, I probably would have stayed there because David is amazing. The company is amazing. You know, even when I was leaving, they gave me like a raise. They're like, no, stay, we'll give you a raise. It was just really nice too. And, but the new company that I work at, I really believed in the product. If you wanted one company, it's Strappy. Headless CMS, best CMS in the world. And I really wanted to work there. And how did I get hired there? So through my interaction on YouTube, I met this guy, John Smilga. A lot of you know him as Coding Addict. Our relationship led to us to doing a podcast together, which we need to get back to. Really, really fun. Love chatting with John. We need to get back to that podcast. But, you know, family first. He has a newborn. I totally understand. We'll get back there. But doing our podcast, he brought up one of the... my brain is frozen because I have a lot on my mind, but we'll get to that. He brought one of their developer advocates, and we talked about Strappy, and I talked to Daniel about, like, whoa, how I love Strappy. And I literally made a joke, like, hey, I'm going to apply to your company. Be ready because I'm going to use you as reference. And Daniel's like, hey, like, go ahead. Like, use me as reference. Let's do this. And so through that connection online, I was able to get connected with Strappy. And I went through, like, really good interview process. I think it was like 7 to 8 interviews. And I finally got hired, whatever. The point is, networking is super important. And I talked to a recruiter at the company, and she's like, based on just blindly meeting you and not knowing context about you, like, I would have never hired you. And so having someone refer you is super important. So we talked about sharpening your sword. So the best thing you could do is building your network. I think I talked too much. Somebody should have said shut up in the comments. I wouldn't mind. And I think, Engine Boy might have been surprised to my lack of sending resumes. Ankita says, I recently was trying Strappy, blow my mind how easy it is to set up an API with Strappy. Yeah, it's pretty cool. The work Strappy team is doing. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I really enjoy it. Tech Rally, if you're still here, I've never done a talk before. I feel like it's a great way to build your network. Yes, everybody should be going to meetups and doing little talks. 100%, 100% people should be going out there doing talks. Even if you suck, I started going to talks. Here's the reason, and you don't have to listen to me. Wes Boss, he has a Syntax podcast. He had an episode specifically on this, why everybody should be giving talks literally because of networking and building a community. I know for a fact based on my experience and building friends, from my jiu-jitsu building friends, I know a lot of people in the tech company where if I got laid off, I would, number one, reach out to them. But please don't let me get laid off. I really love what I do. I don't want to get laid off, blah, 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 whatever. But I have a connections of friends that I could reach out to and start. So you always, if you get laid off, you always have to start from your inner circle and always go the referral way. But the thing that I want to talk about is, okay, we talked about networking. And then let's see. And Engine Boy says, I only rely on LinkedIn for networking, but seems like good, like nobody knows me there too. It's time for LinkedIn course. Definitely, yeah, LinkedIn is good, but I think like making personal connections is more important. So I don't use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is like my throwaway, like, okay, like I met someone cool, like maybe I could reconnect with them if like I don't have someone's email. The way I meet people is in real life, right? Meetups, like online communities, YouTube. So, and when I say real life, it could be like online, but it's like like I'll give you like one good Engine Boy. You're doing a great job. You you got involved with React Play. You made like contributions to that. Like obviously you could use that as part of your like resume. Like, hey, this is the community I've been involved. This is the contribution I made. But the people you meet through there, both ways. Even like the founder, like if something happens, you could like everybody should feel free. Like the circle of friends that you have to whom you provide value. If something happens, you could reach out to them like, hey, like this happened to me. I'm looking for my next opportunity. Like keep an eye open and keep me in mind if something comes up, right? You don't have to be like begging people, but like just make it aware. And if people like you, they're going to be like, hey, like, sure, like I'll keep an eye open and I'll give you I'll let you know. And that will always be the easiest way. Number two, like, so we talked about networking, participating in the community, in meetups, open source projects, publicly building things so people are aware of you. I've been doing that with Remix because I love Remix. And this is probably going to be mostly talking to people in US. Complacency is when you just get used to your job and you realize that it'll probably be here forever. Probably nothing going to happen to me. Probably going to be okay. And then so you don't take any steps throughout your the days that you're working to maintain your network, to stay on top of your resume, something that people should be doing. And I was guilty of this as well. So I'm not saying it like I do this any better, but considering all the events, like I'm updating my resume. My networking, I always stay up to date now because it's such a like important piece for me. It's like if I could do one thing, it's like I'm going to continue growing my network and my friends. But update my resume, start doing practice interviews. So like time to time, go to interviews. Once in a while, even if you don't get a job or even if you do get an offer, you don't have to take it if you really like where you work. But you really do have to keep your sword sharp. The biggest pain point outside of that is like where's the frustration comes from, being laid off. It comes from, I'm not going to be able to get a job because I didn't stay up to date with things and it's going to be very hard. It is very hard and very stressful, but sharpen your sword, like dedicate a couple of hours a week to be like, I'm going to make sure that I'm growing my network. I'm going to make sure that I'm getting the lay of like the tech jobs out there. I'm going to continue making connections. I'm going to research what are the interview process for some of the companies that I want to apply to. I'm going to start doing interview prep practice just for fun because why not? And that way, at least with a couple hours a week, you're staying sharp and you're staying in the game. So when you get laid off, like part of the reason it hurts is because you just not like, oh, I got to go through this process all over again. And a lot of companies do give you these nice severance packages, but a lot of times like companies don't give you anything. And that's another reason why it hurts is because you might be in a financial situation where it's like, God damn, I can't pay my bills. What am I going to do? And that's a reality for a lot of Americans. And I can't even imagine what it's like in other countries. So as a human being, as an adult, as a person, and again, I made all these mistakes that I paid for dearly. And I'm not telling you like, I'm an expert, listen to me. I'm telling you like, holy shit, I made that mistake that really messed my life up. Oh God, I hope I don't make it again. And then I made it again. And so another thing that really good thing outside of everything that I mentioned to secure yourself from layoffs is to be financially responsible. And so what people like, the bare minimum, what people should do, because you're not guaranteed no severance package, right? So don't expect it. Maybe you'll get it, maybe you don't. But as a responsible adult, you should think about, hey, what would happen to me if I lost my job, right? How long can I survive? If the answer is like, I can only survive 2 weeks because that's what my paycheck from last 2 weeks allowed me, that, you know, okay, so your survival rate 2 weeks, okay. So keeping that in mind, it's like, wow, I gotta take some sort of responsibility. Maybe I should have bare minimum 3 months of emergency living expenses that cover my bills and my lifestyle at a minimum. That if I do lose my job, at least I have a buffer of 3 months to be able to look for a job. Maybe this is like, yeah, like, it's like, maybe this is something important. And so that's kind of what I did. I got 3 months of a bare minimum of living expenses saved up, that if I lose my job and I don't get a severance, for next 3 months, I'm going to be okay. And the reason why I only did 3 months, because my financial advisor, God bless his soul, he's like, Paul, you don't need that much money in your bank. You need to invest. You need to invest. No. You need to have at least 6 months. I used to think 3 months. You need 6 months of living expenses saved up in your bank account for emergencies. And so that's like my goal, get to 6 months point of living. I have 3 months. Now I want to get to the next step, 6 months of living expenses, that if I lose my job and I don't find anything for 6 months, at least I'm able to live off my cash, right? So it's super, super important. And so that's the biggest thing. Like, so now, like, I am sad that there's a lot of layoffs. Getting jobs is possible, so don't quit learning to code, but networking is the key. I made that point. But number two, before I was really, really frightened of layoffs. And I am very lucky and blessed, like living in the country that I live in, whatever. Like, I don't want to say that this is as easy as I make it out. It's not easy, not even for me. But like, if the most painful thing about layoffs is like, I don't know if I'm going to get hired again because the interview process is hard. So what did we learn? Keep growing your network. While, like, weekly, you should dedicate time to sharpening your skills, like your interviewing skills. And you should be, for fun, applying to jobs just to go on real interviews and be in the game, right? Even if you do it like once a month, it's still better than nothing. So keep your sword sharp, right? And what's the second thing? Well, keep your shield ready. So the second point that really hurts with layoffs is like, I don't have any income coming in. How am I going to pay for my bills? How am I going to do that? Like, well, this is where you take responsibility in your hands. I know this is hard, but ideally this is what you want to do. I started with saving 3 months of living expenses, having liquid cash that if I do get laid off for 3 months, like, I could at least, like, I get laid off, I could at least survive for 3 months. So now the way the economy, the way things are, I'm literally trying to get to 6 months. And this is why it's important to have your debt under control and having like, and again, I'm speaking broadly here, mostly for like Americans. I know in other countries it's way harder, like, and it's different, but just for the sake of this, I'm literally just speaking from being in the country that I live in. So my advice might not be 100% applicable to everybody. I am aware it's very different and even more difficult in other countries, but you should strive to save 6 months of living expenses just for the sake if you get laid off. So now for me, once I reach I have 3 months savings, but once I reach my 6 months, once I brushing up my interview skills, I'm going to feel way more comfortable about layoffs. And I'm not going to worry about if I get laid off because, hey, I have 6 months of living expenses. Hey, I've built this network of people that I could rely and trust on. Hey, I have been doing mock interviews and going to interviews while working, not because I want to switch jobs, but because I want to stay in the game. Have your sword ready, have it sharp, and have your shield, have your moat, 6 months of living expenses. So now if I get laid off, yes, I'm going to be sad. And yes, it's going to hurt, but I'm going to be able to deal with it because I'm not going to be worried about, I don't have money to pay my bills, at least for this next 6 months. And I'm not going to worry too much about, hey, like the interview process is going to be hard. No, because, well, right now for me, interview process is going to be hard. But this is the change that I made after seeing what's happening with the economy, seeing what's happening in the tech industry, is that networking 100%, mock interviews and going to interviews 100%, stay in the game. And so if I get laid off, like I'm going to be like sad because it'll break my heart. I love the company that I work at. But I'm going to be a little bit more prepared. And again, nothing in life is guaranteed, but this is just the tips that you need to do. I didn't see Tech Rally always needs to be special. Just kidding. Tech Rally, I didn't see your video yet, but the reason why I made this video, because layoffs been happening everywhere. When I mean everywhere, just use your imagination. And yeah, it's super true. Yeah. So everybody go check out Tech Rally's video that he made. I'm literally speaking from the standpoint of like, good Lord, was last week difficult? Jesus Christ. And so I wanted to make the video. Usually I like to make positive stuff, and I'm trying to make this positive as well. But networking, Theo made a great video from PingGG, like talking about why resume sending doesn't work anymore. Go check it out. I made a video about it, go check out his video. It's really freaking amazing. And number two, like, keep your sword sharp, keep your shield ready. And so let's look at the chat. 6 months, safety 100%. Like, I'm literally, once I hit 6 months, I am going to go to a year. And a lot of people like, why do you go for a year? Because randomly, I want to be able to travel and go live somewhere for 3 months. You know what I mean? Tech Rally, come on. Talking about layoffs and talking about what happened last week. I don't know. But I'm safe for now, I guess. But yeah, no, like literally the motivation for me to make this video is just the reality of like layoffs could happen to anybody, any place, anytime. And when I was really thinking about it, like what would make me feel better, more better than I am now if I got laid off. And number one is knowing the fact that I've been doing everything I can to keep my sword sharp by building my network, by going to interviews. And even if you like don't get hired or get an offer, it doesn't mean you have to take it, but you need to be in the game. And then the second thing is like, oh, it would really hurt because like I could only survive for 3 months if I don't have any income due to my 3 month savings. And if you have no savings, start with like a month of savings, start with 2 weeks of like whatever it is for you, but work to get to 3 months. And now, lol, yeah, I mentioned it early in the stream. I'm just teasing you. Yeah, there's layoffs. And then, you know, now I'm like 6 months is the bare minimum of living expenses that I need to have to feel very comfortable in my life, to know that my rent's paid, to know that everything else is paid. And after I hit my 6 months, I'm going to go the next 6 months, probably not like work to get a 12-month, you know, buffer. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep 6 months liquid cash. And then the other 6 months, I'm going to find some sort of investments that I could make that would kind of return some sort of interest, but are fairly liquid, that if I do need to use that cash, I could sell the investments and use it. But because I think having a year of money just laying in your bank is probably not the best use of the money, because you definitely want to invest. But that's my plan. So and I will continue talking about it because that's what I'm going to keep doing it. And coming back to Tech Rally's point, I probably already talked about it, just forgot. Everybody should be doing talks because it's amazing for your networking, like 100%. So many opportunities come from there. Invest in Tech Rally. What is the return? What percent of return on my money can you guarantee, Tech Rally? Over my, you know, investment portfolio. Yeah, like, so invest in yourself, people. Like, you know, listen, the most important thing you could do, like, there's one saying, I love this guy, Jim Rohn. He's like, I passed away, but he was like the OG motivational speaker and getting people to change things. And this is what he said. He said, work 40 hours. I forgot how the quote goes. Let me look it up. But the gist of the quote is, work 40 hours at your job and the rest of the time work for yourself. Jim Rohn, working for yourself quote. Let me look it up so I could give you the right quote. here. Yeah, basically his quote is, learn to work harder on yourself than you do at your job. If you work hard on your job, you can make a living. But if you work hard on yourself, you could make a fortune. And that is brilliant, brilliant advice. So let's come back to the comments. Oh, yeah, I love the return. It's actually pretty good. That's pretty good. That's not that bad. You're giving me better performance than some of my stock picks. Yeah, Alex is awesome, by the way. I know me and him go back and forth making fun of each other, but we actually are really good friends, and he has an amazing channel, even more amazing voice. So go check him out at the Tech Rally YouTube channel. Yep. And so let's open it to the chat. Let's have chat. Dana says, any safety is better than no safety. In my pre-tech life, I lived through multiple rounds of layoffs. The stress is just unreal. Anything to mitigate the stress, like a safety net 3 to 6 months, 100%. And that is the big part of that is actually, yeah, that you mentioned, the stress is unreal, and the stress is unreal. And that's something that, you know, people also have to consider. And if you need to, like, I'm very big on making sure, like, if you feel stressed out, if you start to feel depressed, go see somebody. Don't be like, I'm going to go see my friend. You know, sometimes professional help could go a long way. And mental, you know, health is a real thing. It's not taboo as some people make it out to do. Like, I know it's been better now, people shining light. But 100% is that if you're going through hard times, sometimes family, friends are not enough. And it's more than important to, like, get some professional help if you can. 100%. Yeah. And Donna says, always work on yourself. 100%. And Donna's working as a contractor. Man, that's cool. Donna, like, I'm always looking for guests on the live stream, and a lot of people do ask me what it takes to, you know, to make it in tech. And I always like to hear other people's, like, perspectives. And a lot of people ask me what it's like working as a contractor. And I would love to have a conversation about it if you're ever open. Says, I used to not like that, but it's this economy, it's working for me. Yeah, like, I think I know a lot of people that do contracting roles. My friend Luke, he's an ASP and C# developer, does a lot of contract work, and most of his jobs and his kind of trick is get into big companies through contracting. So it's kind of cool. Yep, and Tech Rally's time, I might start looking behind the scenes, and then, I'm waking up to the fact. Been working since July, so I'm starting to prepare. Yeah, no, awesome. Like, we need to connect on Twitter. I'm at coding30. We should, like, connect. I don't want you to publicly share your Twitter if you don't want to, but you could throw your Twitter here as well if you have one, or you could just follow me at coding30, or not follow me, but DM me at coding30 at Twitter. Yeah, and so I know we've been hitting a hour mark. So what do we talk about? Keep the sword sharp, network, and practice interviews, go to interviews, know the lay of the land, and then have a shield, which is basically strive to get to 3 months of living expenses if you don't have that. And if you do have 3 months, and strive for 6 months. 6 months, I think, is a good midpoint, like a happy medium for everybody. And Paul is definitely past 30. Yeah, you know what? My face doesn't tell it. I look like 38, you know, my young skin, my beautiful face. I you know, 38, you know. Yeah, I'm 42, which is fantastic. 42 is the most amazing age. I just keep saying whatever age I'm at, that's the most amazing age for me. Yeah, Tech Rally refers me to, like, boomer, which is fine. Like, I'm fine with that. You know, I live it. Yeah. So we talked about keep a sword sharp, keep the shield. If you have questions or comments, like throw them out there. Let's open it to the chat, people. I gotta figure out how on YouTube, like invite people that want to like show their face and talk while we're live. I gotta figure out an easy way to do it. I guess I could do it. You know, Tech Rally, you gotta come on the show or jump on the live. What the hell are you doing? You gotta come down. We gotta have a conversation. We gotta do a catch-up conversation. I know you're sick, tired of seeing my face, but you gotta come on and, you know, like, so we gotta do some stuff. Listen, no. Listen, when I say Tech Rally says something to me, like don't be like Tech Rally and I. We're good friends. He's a buddy of mine. I have nothing but love for him. We joke around a lot. So when I say something, don't take anything I say that sounds negative about Tech Rally. It's not it's not true. Like if anything negative I say, it's not true. I was reading something. Yeah, Tech Rally, if you're able to jump in right now, let me send you the link. Let me link you up. Like I'm using a new computer, so hopefully it works. Like how the freak did I invite somebody? Hold on, give me a moment. I'll invite you in. I'll send you the link on Twitter to join. If you meant let me jump on now, you're always welcome. Hold on a second. What the hell did I use my surfer? Ecam in live. Yep, copy the link. It's the Matrix. I am. My brain doesn't work sometimes because I'm like, you know. So here's my thing that I can't do. I can't read and talk at the same time. So when you see me pausing and the Matrix is breaking, is because I am literally trying to read something. Let me message Tech Rally here. The Tech Rally. Dude, your profile picture is legit. I freaking love it. On Twitter, Tech Rally's picture. It's very amazing. So hey, I threw you a link on the Twitters, and so if you want to jump in, we're gonna jump in, have this talk. It's been a while. Yeah, so let's have an open conversation. Let us know in the comments. You know, I keep saying age is just a number, but my body feels like I'm like can't do anything. It's pretty insane. And good night. Yep. Yeah, Alex's profile pic is lit. It's pretty insane. Like I always like part of me, I see Alex do all these amazing things and I'm like, I gotta do those same things. I gotta like, you know, always do better. But no, yeah, Alex is doing a good job. He's killing it. Like really cool dude. We have our mini competition on YouTube, but he keeps telling me he has more followers on Twitter, which is like 1000% true. He has way more followers than I do on Twitter. And yeah, so it's pretty fantastic. And let's see, we talked about all the cool stuff. Let me share this link. We started doing a new podcast. It's between Kevin, Bobby, and Alex and I. It's a really cool podcast. I'm going to share the link. Third episode is about to come out soon. Really fun stuff. We have some good banter back and forth on technical stuff. And Sir Mr. Jason, good afternoon. Good afternoon. And by the way, if anybody's jumping in late and you missed the stream, I think it was a good stream. You could always rewatch it on 2x speed when you're like doing your laundry and stuff like that. But pretty cool. Yeah, thanks, Donna. Like really good mix of people. Yeah, I'm very happy and glad to be part of. I don't know if Tech Rally's, you know, thinking of jumping in now or he was referring to later. Tech Rally, let me know. Are you going to jump in or not? While I sip my cup of coffee. Yep. Looking at the comments. Yeah, like don't be shy in the comments. Like keep the chat going. We'll get on soon. Okay, perfect. I just wanted to get confirmation because I always like imagine and assume things people say. And so I think I had to say everything I had to say about layoffs and getting hired. Reiterate, keep the sword sharp and keep your shield ready. If you're not sure what that means, you have to rewatch the whole episode. I'm kidding. I'll tell you. Like, keep your sword sharp means always be networking, always be making connections, because referrals right now is the only best way to get hired. Blindly sending resumes is not going to work. The second thing, part of keeping your sword sharp, is getting out there, going to not mock interviews. You should be practicing mock interviews, but literally going to job interviews. Even if you get the offer, you don't have to take it if you're happy where you work, but keep the interviewing sword sharp. Keep the lay of the land, be in the game. And then the shield refers to something that, okay, like why getting layoff hurts? It's like, oh, I'm not making any money. Like money is important. So as a bare minimum, you should grow 3 to 4 month emergency living expenses that covers your basic like bills and lifestyle. So if you do get laid off, you're going to be okay for 3 months. And for me, like my goal is to get to that 6 month mark. So that's basically, keep your sword sharp, keep your shield ready. If you have any questions, let us know. We're going to continue. Tech Rally is about to jump on, so we're going to have some cool conversations. I want to catch up, see how he's doing. Haven't chatted with him in a while, just because I know he's busy, like I'm busy. We're both doing our thing. But he has a really good YouTube channel and also has more Twitter followers than I am, if that's important to people. And what else in my life that I could share while we wait for Alex? So I hope, I actually not hope, like I've been trying to get back into exercise because in the past 3 years, and I come from a very active career before, but for the past 3 years, for some reason, I just built this aversion for exercise. And believe it or not, like exercise is not just good to like stay in shape and look healthy, but it's also good for your mental health. It's really good to your endorphins and stuff like that. And Tech Rally is joining, so let me bring him on here. Yo, what's up, Alex? How you doing? Can you hear me? Can we hear you? We could hear you.
I could hear you.
Yeah, we could hear you fine.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Look at that. Yeah, I don't know if your focus is okay, or is it just me like not being able to see because I need
really
glasses.
Dark, right?
Oh yeah, no, you look okay. Yeah, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's snowing out there. Is it snowing or is it just the lights in the window? Wow.
No, it's snowing. It's snowing.
Nice.
It's snowing. But
nice.
yeah, no, I'm using my EOS M50 camera instead of like a webcam. So I'm trying to see but then the problem is it's a little dark. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you should get like a ring light. I'm gonna have to send you like the setup I have on my desk for minimal.
Yeah.
I mean, like the stand that hooks up to your desk, you could get whatever light you want, or you could buy one of those ring lights. It's fine.
I do have a ring light, but it's just
we gotta put it in front of you. Gotta put it in front. It's not.
Yeah.
Where's it situated?
It's like right here.
Oh yeah, you gotta put it in front of your face. Mine is literally like in front of my head. But yeah, how you been? Dude? It's been forever. I mean, forever since we talked like about like personal and just catching up.
Yeah, wait up. I'm just gonna change to my webcam because I think this is like a really bad
yeah. Don't
experience. Worry about it. Yeah. 1 second. How do I get out of this?
Just hang here. I'll kick you and then you could rejoin, or just refresh the screen. Yeah, you'll be back. Yeah. Donna, I wanted to ask, is affected by return to work policy? I'm not sure like what you mean. A little bit more context. I'm not like, like what do you mean by that, Donna? Affected by return to work policy? Because I'm not aware of everything. So like, I'm not sure like what you mean. while Alex comes back. Oh, Amazon for Alex. Oh, that makes sense. I see what you mean. Right. Thank you. We'll definitely have to let Alex ask. You know, he wants to show his best side of his face, so he needed to switch the camera. I totally get it. My face, you know, it doesn't matter what angle I turn to, it looks the same. But for Alex, I guess he has like a favorite, you know, so he's fixing his camera to make sure he could do that. Of course, I'm kidding. Kidding. Yeah, that's another crazy thing. Like, man, that could be a whole discussion. Yeah, man. But yeah, pitch Strappy for new devs. Strappy is awesome and amazing. And of course, Alex is coming back. So let's bring Alex back.
Is this
Add
better?
to the right. Yeah, like, I mean, both are fine. Okay, do you want my honest opinion?
No.
Honest opinion? No, okay, you don't want it, but I'll tell you anyway. Your ring light is positioned in the wrong spot. You need it right in front of your face. And they have these desk stands that connect to, or get a ring light from like Amazon, like the whatever all the streamers get. That's going to make a huge difference, because the issue is you have your window behind you, and so it's overpowering the light from the side. That's the only thing.
Yeah. I just like, there's just not enough economical space in my apartment right now. So I think I have to figure out, like, my desk is already like pushed against the wall.
Yeah,
there's really
I'll send you the picture of the thing I have.
Yeah.
Because I have the same thing.
Okay,
It's very
that might
helpful.
be better.
Yeah.
Is my mic okay?
Yeah. Let us know in the chat, by the way, if his mic is too low. I think it's perfect, but yeah, I think you're good. How you been?
All right.
How's everything?
Let's I don't know. It's funny. We see each other every week, but then it's like so fast. Like we talk about our topics and then we have to like leave. So even though we do talk a little bit afterwards, but yeah, I'm good. I just can't believe eggs are so expensive.
Oh my God. And I eat a lot of eggs. Trying to, in my old age, not to eat a lot of sugar, which is a good tip for anybody older there. Yeah, I was going to say, like, we've been just like, you've been working, like I've been working, you've been doing your YouTube thing, and we just kind of like haven't connected with each other, which is like terrible. I think we should definitely do more stuff together. But I definitely see how life could get like, you know, in the way of just things. But actually, Dana had Dana, I don't know. I'm sorry if I mispronounced the name. She had a good question. You know, she saw in the news headline about Amazon, among other big tech companies, announcing return to work policy, and she was just wondering if that has affected you, or what's that process like?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how much I'm allowed to say, but I am.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just say that my team is in New York and I'm in Boston, so I just don't know what that implication is. Like, I assume if I was in New York, then I'll probably be going to the office 3 times a week. But I don't know. I think you get used to a certain lifestyle, so it's a little bit difficult for you to like switch back, right? Once you get the power of remote work opportunity. But I don't know. Maybe I'm a little old school in a sense too, because maybe I'm showing my age as well, where it's like, dude, you're still getting paid a lot. Like, just go into the office, right? It is a little bit annoying, I admit, but there's just so many other things to complain about.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think people, like you said, to your point, sorry, like when people give you certain things and when they take them away, it just doesn't feel right. But at the same time, if you're like, I prefer to stay remote, to be honest. I'm sure a lot of people do, but if I worked at a company that said you have to come back to work and I really enjoyed working there, if it's 3 days a week, I would probably do it. But yeah, it's a call people have to make.
It's not ideal. It's not ideal. Don't get me wrong.
Traffic.
But it's exactly. Traffic, and just waking up early because my team, we have members from Scotland.
Mm.
Then so we do a lot of our meetings early, and I'm sure you have European times that you need to consider. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's really annoying for meetings when you have to schedule stuff early. So I rather just wake up and then start
Roll
my
out of
meetings
bed.
versus having to having to go freaking commute for 45 minutes earlier and just being really
In a
exhausted,
minimum.
So yeah, exactly. So it is what it is, but I cannot complain. Honestly, I expected it. There's no way you're gonna have those expensive offices and have no one actually occupy them. I think the major way you could appeal like big employees, like big companies like that, is you have to offer free lunch.
Exactly. Free food, free perks of cool stuff, for sure.
Yeah. What's the incentive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But how are you? How's Strappy?
it's good. Like I love it. I really love like what I do there. It's pretty awesome. I can't complain. Like every company, they all through the economic and recession times. Some people say we're not having recession. I don't know what the hell you would call our economic times right now. Then, but there's this level of
What?
uncertainty. So a lot of companies
Yeah.
have to, make tough decisions. But I'm still there, still enjoying it, still loving it. So
Do you
it's all
get
going
concerned? Well, I don't know if you noticed, but I feel like on Twitter, the layoffs do happen more with developer advocates, or I'm just seeing a lot of developer advocates get laid off. And I'm just wondering, do you get concerned about that aspect, or do you agree or
like
disagree with that sentiment? Yeah.
I would. So there's, I don't want to say a spicy take or hot take, whatever you call it. There is a
Oh, it is
reason,
related to layoffs, though.
so people lay off like in general, and I'll come back to the comments in a second. The way layoffs work, I feel like they have a spreadsheet and they literally see like the value you provide as an employee, does it make sense to keep you? So if someone, and first of all, it's no one's fault someone got laid off, and it could be mismanagement of having too many positions of a certain type. I just want to say that first. But if you got laid off, wrong or right, somebody made a decision where the value that you provided was not good enough. And so the way I would say it, it really depends like how many different things you touch at your company. So my company is super small. And so I touch a lot of different aspects that are kind of important that you don't see from just like the developer perspective. And so, it just really depends on the value. So I think Twitter, is very vocal about stuff. And I think the people that got laid off, like there was a reason. I'm not saying it's like a fad, because if you I would say just as many developers, just as many marketing people got laid off, just as many like DevRels get laid off. It's just like common across the board. But from my observation, I don't know if it's like in your company, and because my company is super small, so it's able to see the people that did not get laid off had some sort of key part that not quite yet can be replaced, or to hire someone new would be more expensive than keeping the talent that you have. So that's kind of like
I'm not sure about. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really thoughtful answer. And with startups, I feel like it is pretty individual based potential. Like I'm just kind of generalizing, but with like Amazon, it definitely felt more department based.
Yeah.
Like what department as a whole is not contributing enough, not necessarily individual skills. So there are some people actually that were able to internally transfer to different teams.
Yeah.
But it wasn't necessarily because of individual talent that they were let go, right? So I think that's a great point.
Yeah, with huge companies, that's definitely the case. I talked to a lot of people that work for big companies that literally draw a line and they're like, this is the department that's going to go. So when you hear of layoffs, they're like, oh, the whole California team was let go, or this whole department. But you brought up a good point. There's something like Theo also mentioned, like if you are working for a huge company, there's layoffs, try to reach out to managers across departments and see if they have positions that you could fill. Like you mentioned, some people went. That's definitely should be people's first step. But I think it's like different times, difficult times that we live in, and there's no easy answer except try to be as prepared the best that you can to weather the storm if possible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rough. And I just feel that I think what you do is pretty good as a developer advocate because you're still coding a lot, relatively speaking. But I read something on Twitter. Someone was posted that meme of that. What's that one guy from Narcos, and Game of Thrones? But it's the one where they're like he's having like a panic attack, and it's like, oh, when they ask developer advocates to code or something, I was like, what? Like you just don't like code a little bit.
No. That's not even a little bit. So I talked to I have a friend who worked for Docker. He works for another company now, very high up as a developer, senior advocate manager, whatever, really high up there. He's a rock star developer. And so I had this conversation with him because I said to him, I'm doing a lot more coding now because I brought that up with my team and why it's important. And I shared my sentiment with him, and some people are going to get mad at me, but I said to him, I'm like, look, I feel like as a developer advocate, you are a rock star developer, meaning you don't just understand superficial knowledge of your product, but you understand the deep core of the code and you could answer difficult questions, and you're also a good public speaker. And he's like, yeah, I agree with you. And I said to him, it seems that on Twitter, a lot of developer advocates that you see, they're really non-technical. And he's like, yeah, they're just the loudest on Twitter. All the good DevRels that he knows, number one, he's like, they're probably not as vocal on Twitter. And number two, he's like, they're amazing developers. And he literally, this is what he said to me. He said, Paul, if you work at a company where you're not doing at least 50% in the code as a developer advocate, find another company. That's what he said to me. He said, as a developer advocate, your first year, learn the core product, front to back, be an expert as much as you can, and then also create the proper content. And the one reason he said to me is this: if you're a developer advocate, and I don't know if I'm sure you are in developer communities, if the only reason they take you as your own because you're a developer. If you're a developer advocate and you're in a community where the community members who are coders don't see you as a developer, you're going to have no trust and you're not going to have any respect. They're not going to say it to you straightforward, but they're just not going to engage with you as well. And so the reason I am doing very well in our community is that people, they're like, oh, he's one of us. He's not a marketing dude, or he's not just talking whatever. And so that is very important. And so when someone asks me, what is my definition of a developer advocate? It's a rock star developer and a rock star communicator. And those are the two things I'm striving to do. And if you do things right, you should be able to move to a development role in your next company because you have the skill, or you could continue doing your DevRel stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree with that a lot. And again, I think it's about the respect, because the developers aren't going to respect you if you don't know the source code and didn't take time to learn it at all. Oh, by the way, do you mind if I post on Twitter about this live? Or
yeah, of course. Post on Twitter for sure. I know a lot of people
get you
will
some,
see it.
My goal is to get you more subscribers, so you'll further be less motivated
to keep killing it. The interesting thing is, don't worry about it. I'm not treating YouTube as a career path at this point, and I'm literally using it as things that I want to do. So very poor performing videos are tech tutorials, but I am going to, my next bunch of videos all have to do with building stuff with Remix. Just because
I think it's really hard.
Yeah,
I think it's really hard with a channel. You kind of have to even niche down within your niche, right?
Yeah.
For it to perform well. Like people have literally just coding tutorials on their channel, or maybe talking head videos on their channels about tech. It's just so hard to do both, because even your audience within tech is slightly different. Some people only want to watch tutorials, and some people want to hear this kind of stuff and these spicy takes or whatever. But that's why people create second channels or third channels, but our channels are so low, sub count. Yeah, it doesn't even matter.
doesn't even matter. I was thinking about it, separating by channels, and then I'm like, I need to just put more time on this channel. What am I going to do with two channels? But yeah, I figured that. Exactly. So people literally love talking head videos and opinions more than anything else on YouTube. But part of the thing that I'm doing, I want to make sure that I also create content about the communities that I'm a member of, because part of my YouTube channel is networking and has been, really helpful with that. So even though I'm not making money off my YouTube videos, there is a benefit to doing some of the stuff
Right.
I'm doing.
Did you see Nelson's comment? He says it's funny. A year ago, you guys made a video on how to get hired as a web developer, and now you're talking about layoffs.
No, I made a video
He's-
how to get hired as a developer in tough times last like
no.
a couple of weeks
He's
ago.
saying the last time we talked together.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. No, yeah,
Yeah.
no, but there's still jobs out there. There's still jobs.
I think
Don't
so,
yeah,
yeah.
but it's funny. It's hilarious. Yeah.
So what would you? So would you say networking through
100%.
meetups is
Oh my
probably
God.
the
Not
number
just
one
meetups, like
way?
through friends. Like literally, if I got laid off and I know nothing's guaranteed, I would have definitely reached out to you and be like, hey, Alex, regardless of all the things I said about you on Twitter, do you have any positions available like at your company? And like regardless if you do or not, like I think it's the fastest way. So I had a friend that I went for a walk with, and he's like, hey, my company is hiring. This is before like whatever, like the news that I found out. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like I'm not looking for a job right now, but thanks for letting me know. And he's like, literally, like, I'll get you an interview. I'm like, cool. So it's literally is the best way in my mind. And it worked for me for all the jobs I had.
It's going through the back door, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But starting a front end dev boot camp, paid by Amazon. Any advice to be successful? Any advice to be successful at a coding boot camp in general?
Do you want the cliche answers, or do you want like it's like study hard, do the work?
Yeah,
work
basically.
hard.
I think my number one advice is don't expect the boot camp to like help you find a job. If anything, I realized working with boot camp grads, like through one-on-one coaching, they're really, really not good at career development or like career services. They may be good at teaching you how to code, but they're not good at making you look hireable, even with like certain projects or anything like that. Like I really think there needs to be more emphasis on the career service side, because they don't put enough time into that aspect of it. Because skill wise, they're good enough to land a junior developer job. It's just like they're not packaging them up well enough to employers to say like, yes, this is a person we want to hire. So it's not skills. Like they'll teach you the skills, but they just got to do a little bit better about the career development part.
I had two
And I
friends
see Dana saying, "Ouch."
Yeah, I have two friends who just graduated from boot camp, and I asked them their trip in. They both work now, and they both make pretty decent amount of money, especially on their second job. But they both said, like, literally, because I was surprised, I was like, well, how much of like your success do you give to a boot camp? They're like 15, 20%. And
That's insane.
And they're like, it's not guaranteed to give you a job. The rest you got to do yourself. So they did the networking. They made sure that they had killer projects. One thing that I never used to do, like Theo brought it up in his video, that I see in open source communities, because I've seen people get hired from communities who are community members who contributed to open source. That's actually like another great like tip, if you will, or trick, is contribute to open source, start slow. You might not know anything, but be part of the project, impact, like have some impact on the community in a positive way. And eventually people will notice you, and you'll would have made a lot of friends that you could network with and get job opportunities. And B, anything that you contribute to actual company code or projects, or build a plugin that is featured in like a store somewhere, will always look better than any personal project you build that nobody sees. So that's like another tip I would give. But yeah, nothing's ever guaranteed. I learned that lesson like when I was 3 years old, living in the cold Soviet Union back in the day. So that's been, normal lifestyle for me. I always expect the worst, and if it doesn't happen, I feel good.
Yeah. Yeah, I was reading this other comment by Dana saying bootcamp is a framework to learn how to code, which I think that's literally the main thing that a bootcamp is there for now. Before, I would say the earlier days, it was like learn how to code and get a job. And they're always going to share the numbers and metrics, but they just have too many students, and there's, I guess, I don't know the business side of it, but at least from a student perspective, it's just the priority is like a lot lower than what it used to be. So it is what it is. But if you come in with the right mindset of like, this is where I'm going to be learning how to code and learning how to code really fast, I know that there's going to be a lot more work involved afterwards with networking, open source, or fixing up my resume, everything along those lines, then you should be in good shape. So yeah.
And soft skills. A lot of people argue with me
Yeah.
that I could just get a job based on my coding skill. Maybe true, but if your soft skills completely suck, I don't know. What are your thoughts on soft skills?
I think soft skills alone is not good enough either.
100%. Yeah.
Some people think
Yeah, you can't talk yourself
we are
with
weird.
no code.
No, but in some weird ways, I feel that this is why I was talking about the developer advocate stuff. Was like some people were able to get developer advocate jobs even though their coding skills are very, what do you call it? Just like early stages of their
Non-existent. I'll
career
say it.
development.
Non-existent.
No, it's not non-existent. They
I'm
know
just
they know how to
teasing. I
code.
know.
I wouldn't say
I'm kidding.
I wouldn't
I'm
say
kidding.
non-existent, but it's just like for me personally, I really like the path that you took, where it's like software developer first for a couple years, and then going to developer advocacy, because then you could basically have the confidence to jump into the code whenever you need to, right? And then explain it to other people why this is important or what changes are making. But if you just go straight into developer advocacy with like very minimal like professional development, then you're always gonna fear going into the code base. It's like jumping into the deep end of a pool without like ever learning how to swim. Like, like somehow you made it through, but you just, now you're stuck. So that's why, yeah.
You know what's crazy? You just made like a statement, like they should work as developers first. I literally thought that was a requirement that you needed to meet to be a developer advocate. I literally thought that you need to have worked as a developer first before you could qualify as a developer advocate. And the person that I talked to that gives me advice on this stuff literally said the same thing. You should have worked as a developer for 2 to 3 years before making a decision going to become a developer advocate. So in my mind, that is the requirement. Is this Alex?
Yeah.
There's another Alex. He's like, is this still live? I don't know. Can you hear me making fun of you, Alex? Is this still live? Yes, it is. That was just Alex is awesome.
Yes,
you didn't miss
that's
it
right.
yet.
I am awesome.
You're still here. We're still here.
Dana says soft is way more important with zero experience. Gets you in the door. Yes, that is also true.
Yeah.
Like one of the biggest ways junior developers stand out, especially, because of these like layoffs and all these things, like everyone's applying to the same jobs, is you have to do a lot more work outside of just pure technical skills. You have to like research the company, tell them why you love that company, tell them you've read these articles about this company and you know what mission you're trying to like do. All of these research and soft skills that or I guess these are more homework skills, but then you can actually talk about it, and that's where soft skills play into the factor. As every junior can kind of relatively code the same. You just got to figure out ways to stand out. So that's where soft skills like stand out. Dang, I haven't done lives in a while. I feel like I'm slurring.
No, you're doing good. You're awesome. I do lives is
Thank
kind of
you.
cool. Like, and by the way, thanks to everybody and Tech Rally joining these Saturday live streams. I mean, really awesome to have all of you. So it's really cool.
Chat is
really cool.
Chat is going wild, or it's just
it's
Dana,
good.
but I love it.
It's still good. Still good.
Yeah.
But I agree with her that it should be a requirement for DevRel to have some dev experience. But what's big for you, Alex? Like, what are you working on? Spill all the beans, spill all the secrets. I know you have secret projects going on. Come on.
It's a secret, but no, I'm actually still kind of in the learning phase at the moment. I'm trying to figure out, I want to build a course, and specifically a course related to maybe like a bug tracker or some kind of financial planning app. But I'm trying to figure out what stack I want to do it in. And so I've been kind of learning on the side of what is it that I like, what is it that I don't like. And I think I've kind of found this happy medium. So we'll see how that goes, but it's going to probably be on Next.js. It's going to be using Next.js with Postgres and Prisma. And then my authentication.
Thank God
will
you're not
probably
doing
be like,
MongoDB. Thank
Yeah,
God.
I was thinking about doing I was thinking about
Don't,
doing
don't,
MongoDB, but yeah, just
don't.
it's not realistic. It's not modern anymore. So
Not even modern. Like no job uses it as often
yeah,
as they do anything else. Like yeah,
yeah, no, but like I just want to be a little bit more. I know some course creators like they just like pump out courses left and right, but I want to make this in a way where it's actually benefit like a good project that someone can share on their portfolio. And luckily, since I don't have a lot of great following, anyways, the people that do buy the course will stand out versus like, oh, it's Yelp Camp all over again, right? So, I've been doing a lot of like product research development as well, just trying to figure out like how to launch correctly versus just build a course and launch. Because I think my last two courses have just bombed in terms of sales, which is fine, as that's not what I wanted to do in the first place. But it was a good learning experience. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. I'm still pretty new to Prisma, so I'm just practicing more and more and more
yeah,
there. But Prisma's awesome. It makes life a lot easier. That's the one thing about working at a company. Sometimes you get kind of like left behind of all these new
yeah.
things that are like changing so quickly, and it's been kind of fun to relearn a lot of these new things.
Yeah, Prisma is super cool. I used to use it like back when I used to love GraphQL more than I do now. And then now
Hmm.
like it's just so much more flexible since the last time I used it. So my, because I use Remix. So obviously I do Remix with Strappy. So you don't need Prisma. You don't need any of this stuff. But if I were
Hmm.
to build a full stack application with Remix, they literally have what they call like stacks. They have their indie stack, which gets you started right out of the box with like SQL database, Prisma, and the Remix, front end. It's pretty awesome, and it does make things way easier using Prisma. I had to build a project where I had to use Koa, which is like a built by Express team, but way leaner, and it's all async await base, so you don't have to worry about promise callback hell, which is nice. But they wanted me to communicate with the database using Connext, which is like allows you to query the database directly, and it's such a pain. And using Prisma would have
That
made my life
sounds
so much easier.
that sounds so confusing. I never see that's the problem. There's too much software
Too
out
much
there,
stuff.
and you got to be very selective about what you want to use. So hey, Dana says she'll buy it put it on pre-sale. She'll buy it. Yes, thank you. I
Nice.
appreciate the support. We have one customer ready to go. But she also asked why are we not happy about Mongo? Oh crap. You want to
It's not
share,
that I'm not
Paul?
happy. Mongo is amazing. Like the reason why a lot of tutorials use it because it's very easy to set up initially and you don't have to worry about it. The issue is as a developer, like you want to focus on learning tech that is most commonly used, and that's relational databases. So I feel like it's going to be a disservice if you spend a lot of time with Mongo and then get your first job and you're like, oh crap, now I have to learn Postgres or SQL. And so don't make that like be a thing and just start with Postgres right away or with SQL type database. I had 4 jobs as a developer. None of them used Firebase and none of them used MongoDB. And so to me, like for new developers, I recommend starting there. And that's my answer. Yeah. What do you think, Alex?
It's funny because when I use MongoDB to build something just for fun, I treat it like a relational database anyway. So in my head, I'm like, why don't I just use Postgres?
Yeah.
It gets really annoying because Mongo is really good for just whipping up something really quick, but then when you're actually trying to scale stuff and you don't do it correctly because you use like documents everywhere, it's gonna get really really slow. So I just think it's not a great like long-term solution unless you just have some huge Mongo expert that's like able to think about all of these things ahead of time and break them down into like collections, which is
Yeah.
great. But I'm not a back-end developer either, so like that way it gets sometimes confusing to use.
And Donna
But
says,
yeah,
lol, no relation, no gets no love. That's not true. Mongo gets too much love. That's why me and Alex are pitching relationship databases here to get it going. My kitty cat
yeah.
is like saying hello, but I'm like, you're going to break stuff. Go relax later.
It,
No, I
yeah.
think if there's a specific reason, which I don't even know off the top of my head, that tells you why you should be using MongoDB over Postgres, then yes, you should be using MongoDB. But if you're new learning to code and you want to use something that's more commonly used, use a relationship database. And I literally fall back to Postgres. It's really nice. And Postgres with Prisma, oh my God, this is just a godsend.
It's great. Yeah, so far it's been amazing to me. It just feels like, because I grew up with not grew up. I started learning how to code using Rails and Postgres.
Oh yeah, one
so
of those.
it just feels so similar to that kind of formatting and stuff. So it's been really good to me. But in general, I think Prisma, all these new technologies, the only reason why they're good is because they have really great documentation.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have good documentation, no one's gonna like use it. And that's actually been my gripe with hopefully no one's listening, but Auth0. I really like NextAuth a lot because it was just so simple to just integrate with. And OAuth never seems so simple, but with like Auth0, I'm like, what the hell? Like there's just so much documents out there and like outdated docs and all of these things. I'm just like, damn, like I don't know how to set this up properly. And I've been coding for like 5 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
by the way, I was gonna say, did you have a chance to play around with Next.js, like new features like the nested routing and all that other stuff? It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've been messing around. Like actually, this course will be more towards using the app folder, not doing the pages, because
perfect.
my thinking is you're gonna freaking have to update that anyway. So why? You don't. You just want to start off like
on the right
as
foot.
relevant as possible. You're right, because you're still gonna update anyways, but still, like, I'm gonna use the app folder and then use the pages as like a strictly API thing. Yeah,
I'll tell you this right now though, like that's gonna make your course stand out because every Next.js course, even now, they're still using pages. Like, so it'd be awesome to have a modern and more up to date course. And I like that. I mean, I don't use Next.js to be honest. I prefer Remix, but it's here or there. But Next.js, by the way, is really, really good. The Remix is really, really good too. Like the reason, like what I would tell people, a lot of people like, why you like a Remix? Because I like it and it makes me be more productive faster than like, let's say using like Next.js. Just in my mind, it makes more sense. And so to me, it's not that like one is better than the other. It's that I personally feel more, happier doing stuff in Remix than I do Next.js. But if you're learning React, let's say you learn to create React app, you should probably learn Next.js. Let me ask you a question though. Are you using TypeScript?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's just also
I was actually a big believer that you should just learn JavaScript first. There's a part of me that still believes that because
I still believe that
when you're coding,
way.
because when you're coding, it's just so hard to think about statically typed definitions and stuff. But then in some regards, I just feel that if you do use TypeScript, you create like I don't know, like it really just depends on what the purpose of this course is, right? Is it to try to build the like best version of a real life production app as best as possible? If so, then I'll use TypeScript. And I really feel the industry is just moving towards that direction anyways. So you're going to have to be able to talk about it. So it's not going to be a TypeScript course necessarily, but we'll be using TypeScript here and there.
TypeScript,
yeah. And I was a little reserved about that because it's like we're just trying to build a project. But then, actually, what my goal is actually I want to build like an HTML, CSS project course where basically imagine if I'm building like a bug tracker, right? Instead of just building a bug tracker app with like no like good like landing page or whatever, no one's like a recruiter or a hiring manager is not going to know what this app does, right? So I'm thinking actually doing like a prequel or like a prerequisite course where it's just HTML, CSS, and you create like a landing page of this bug tracker. So you sell that course as like, hey, this is a landing page that you know, like an example landing page you could work on, but this is going to be a follow-up to the actual course where you build the application. And then once you build it on Next, you could just take whatever you wrote on the HTML, CSS, move it over to Next.js, and then boom.
Damn, done.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it doesn't matter. And then if you use Tailwind, you could just say, all right, like all these classes that we use here, we could just replace it with this.
Yep.
And then when you present it to a recruiter or a hiring manager, like they're gonna be like, holy crap, is this a real application? Or is this like an application someone's trying to sell or whatever? Because I notice a lot of projects, they have the worst like
They
landing
gotta
pages.
look good.
And
They
so
gotta
no
look
one,
good.
yeah, it has to look good, right? So by having a good landing page, and then you already kill two birds with one stone at that point, like boom, you have a nice project and you could just share it with someone. That's my goal. That's my vision, but we'll see how that goes.
Man, I'm glad you came because I was wondering what can I do to like, what course should I release? And I'm like, I'll just do what Alex does, but I'm gonna do it with.
We can work together on it.
I know. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have time to make courses at the moment. I struggle with that, like, because I'm like, how do you figure out what is going to be the best bang for the time invested for the goal that you want? And for me right now, making courses just not happen to be it. At some point I do want to, and I was wondering, like, how do you came up with that decision? Because obviously you also have the same 24 hours I do, and all this stuff takes work. So what was your thinking behind it?
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny.
Ask all the hard questions.
No, title still says layoffs and tech are real. What does it mean? But we just like totally diverged into like single LLC business owners vision and dreams.
That's how that's how you prevent layoffs. You start your own business.
Yeah, exactly. You start your own side hustles. But actually, one of the main things that I wanted to focus on this year is actually making money. Like, don't get me wrong, I made money last year and the year before, but it was always negative. Like, I always end up spending more than earning for Tech Rally because, like, my prices for coaching isn't like relatively expensive, and then I always buy like gear to improve the overall like structure of Tech Rally. But in some regards, I'm like, why am I wasting so much time and money on this when nothing's really returned? Like, there's no ROI basically.
I'm only laughing because of how true this is. Like, for any creator online trying to make it, it's a nightmare. It really is.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this year I really want to treat Tech Rally as like an actual business that needs to make money. And probably the reason why I was okay with not making money or actually losing money is because I always had this like safety net of my actual job, which I'm perfectly grateful for, and I'm always gonna like prioritize job first. But in some weird way, you could always justify losing money because you're like, oh, well, I already have this full-time job that already supports me, right? But this time I want to change that mentality of, imagine if I didn't have this job and I needed to treat Tech Rally like a legitimate business that is going to be profitable, not just like a fun side hobby or whatever. Like, what can I do? And that was either coaching or build courses or build a SaaS product. I think with the courses, it's going to supplement my coaching in the future because I could actually have resources that my clients can use and say like, hey, this is vetted out because I built this course and I know this is a project that can help you. So I'm trying to think, what can I do right now that will build the foundation later for eventually when I do like group coaching and all of these things. Like, I could actually refer them to other resources that I do. Like, of course I could refer them to resources that exist out there now, but since I didn't vet it, I just don't know. I just don't know. So this is just building the foundation blocks where at least I could still make money now through the courses. And that I want to make a good course, first of all. So that's why I'm taking a lot of time to think about it. But yeah, this is the kind of the main switch why I'm pushing towards courses right now this year. And then hopefully next year it's going to be more coaching. Yeah.
Kevin was saying hello, and he's like, do you guys ever get off the internet? You're everywhere. Maybe Tech's really everywhere, especially on Twitter, with his more followers than me, which is fine. But I really like how you did consider SaaS and like those other options, because those are exactly things I considered. And I was like, making courses or do a SaaS. So I had a SaaS idea, and I was like, man, that's also very hard. And I'm like, and courses are really hard. And I'm still gonna go with like the SaaS approach, and I'm probably gonna fail miserably, but and maybe I'll come back to making courses. But it is hard to figure out where to spend your time as a YouTuber. But one key point that I want to address that I think you're doing a wonderful job is switching your mindset to like, this is a real business will make the difference. And I think that's what a lot of YouTubers do, is that they do it as a hobby, and the hobbies don't become profitable. That's just the facts.
100%. And that's kind of why even with my channel, I don't post as frequently as I used to, is because I want to focus on like not growing my followers. Like it sounds weird to say the followers are important, but it's not as important in terms of, it feels like a vanity metric more than like, oh, me having more followers is going to lead to profitability, because it doesn't. Like we all know how much we all make on YouTube. It's like crap.
Yeah.
So
Dana, it's funny. This is so hilarious. Paul keeps saying Tech Rally has more followers than me on Twitter, and that's fine. I haven't laughed this hard. He said it like 4 times. I'm going to say it like a 50 billion times, because I want to like really, feed Tech Rally's ego. I'm really working hard here. I want him to know like he's killing it. More Twitter followers, like that's important. Like,
I would say one YouTube follower is the equivalent of like 1,000 Twitter followers.
No way. That's not that bad. Come on. Like even I'm not going to be like, no, come on.
Paul has 7,000. Paul has 7,300. I only have
behind me.
6,000.
Right behind
700.
That's fun.
So that's how much. That's how much he amplifies.
To me, the way I look at it, like, and we talked about this before, and it's still true to this day. Like, I want Tech Rally's YouTube channel to grow substantially and be successful, and I want my channel to grow like with his channel. Like he's like a really good, friendly, like, competitor to have, and where we both will win. To be honest, like there's so many people on YouTube, and there are people that are going to only watch Tech Rally's channel. There's only going to be people that want to watch my channel. Then there's going to be people that want to watch both of us, and it's fine. There's plenty space, but to have like someone that you could kind of work together to achieve like a goal through like friendly competition, I think that's so awesome, where, you got that friendship going on. So it's like really cool.
I think there was a true moment where we were going like, oh, you have this many more followers. You have this many more followers.
And
we were like posting like, we were posting a couple videos per week probably at that time.
Yeah, it was so
we
close.
Like,
it was so fun. And then
you
got like busy with jobs.
You just slapped me.
We got busy with jobs.
You just slapped me. And then,
no, you got that job. But
no.
I have many hours. Look, you work so many hours. Don't even like.
Your content just blew up, and then that's why I couldn't catch up, and then I failed miserably.
The funny thing, I saw your last. Not your last video, but the video before that. And I was like, damn, his production quality went up. And so I literally, I'm just being public about it. I'm like, Tech Rally is really like leveling up his skill. And so to me, like, am I going to level up my skill? I'm like, hell no, I'm just going to do these like very easy produce talking head videos. And I hope they do better than his better produced videos. I literally had that thought. I was like, what is the worst video I could make with the least amount of time production wise that gets not the same, but also more possible views of Alex's highly produced videos.
Actually, one thing again about to your original question about like why did I choose courses, and I was talking about treating my channel like a business, is I actually hired a video editor, and luckily I make enough. Yeah, luckily I make enough on my YouTube where basically everything goes back into just paying that person. So,
dude, so you're killing it. You're way ahead of me. I'm not making anything at the moment.
Yeah,
so you're doing good. You're doing good.
You have more subscribers though.
Doesn't matter. It's how you. But you had some good videos that, like, did very well. Like you.
Thank you.
You're doing good. You're doing good.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And then that's the one thing that I actually am trying to change up is like not try to waste money because obviously paying for an editor means you're having expenses, right? But I'm trying to do it in a way where I'm not buying some like crazy device or item just because I'm like, oh, this is for my channel. It's more like using the money in the right way and the most efficient way. So the editor has definitely helped my life a lot, because basically what I do now is I just record with the mess ups, and then that person clips it all out and adds the edits for me. So I think that's
I
just
should
been really clutch and helpful. Yeah.
I should use your same editor. It'll be hilarious.
If you want to, but our
No, no,
content will look very similar.
no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I don't. Yeah. At the moment, I like. It's not in my budget at the moment. But also, like, that is a very smart decision because your personal time is very valuable, and so certain
Yeah.
tasks like you should probably not do. And 100% once I get to a point, because I have like slightly different goals where I have YouTube at the moment. But when I get to a point where it's profitable, the first person I'm going to hire is an editor for sure. For sure. It's a very smart move.
I think you should, yeah, it's just so much time. And again, I think you were kind of mentioning the like working at Amazon and stuff and how I've been busy. Like the reality is like I'm a lot busier than at work than I used to be at my different job. So that's why it's been a lot harder to focus on other stuff. But now that I kind of got my bearings down, knowing what my goals are, I think that's one thing that I would suggest for a lot of people, even like whether it's software development or content creation or whatever, is like don't just like mindlessly do stuff. Like try to have a goal. Like what is your end goal this year? What is your end goal in 6 months? So like I have like quarterly goals, like monthly goals, weekly goals, and all those things. So I have a tracker that keeps me on track on a day-to-day as well.
Yeah, you need that compass for sure. And this is what like I'm glad like you're sharing this because like a lot of people don't see that. And I feel like a lot of people who are trying to break into the industry, they might not hear us talk about that as often. And they think like whatever they think, but they themselves might not have like quarterly goals or ways of like having a feedback cycle that helps them to see, am I on track? Am I doing the right things? And if I'm not, like having the ability to self-assess yourself and be like, this is what I need to change in my life to make sure that I get back on track. Because I didn't have that like when I first started to learn to code, and it took me like 4 years to get my first job, like almost 4 years, like 3.5 years. And that was really painful. And being focused, having a plan is super important. Web Dev Cody's here. Amazing. Web Dev Cody like has some of the greatest tech content, coding content on his channel. So please go subscribe to him if you haven't already. I know he probably doesn't like
I like how
like saying that to him. But first of all, I don't like shorts at all. Like I hate shorts. I think it's stupid. People make stupid faces, do little dances or talk about mindless stuff. But every time I watch Cody's shorts, I learned something new about JavaScript in like 30 seconds. So it's so funny and awesome. But he is a cool dude. What were
it's
you
insane because I remember.
What were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say it's insane how we like make fun of each other and like, oh, you have 1,000 more than me, blah blah blah. Like I think he was around our area too, and then he blew up,
dude.
Like with through his shorts or his video. I mean, I'm so happy, obviously, but
people like I don't. I
know he put in a lot of work though
and created really valuable content. So. Finally, to have YouTube give him the recognition that he deserved long time ago, I think that's really awesome. Really awesome.
Well deserved, yeah.
But also,
because
here's the thing:
his channel was something else, right? His channel was something else. Like it wasn't Web Dev Cody.
Web Dev Junkie, like what? It's still
Junkie
like,
or something
similar.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Web Dev Junkie.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though: like
if you know, you know.
I'm looking at it as he started growing fast, like around the 12K mark, and we're not there yet. And I wondered, like. Maybe something similar is going to happen to your channel, to my channel. But it's definitely a grind, 100%. And to me, like, I always celebrate people that find some success. And the fact that you have 100, like 90 or 100 doesn't even mean you're successful on YouTube anyway. It's not like it's going to replace your day job. You know what I'm saying? So it's still a grind no matter how many followers you have. That's why, but I really like, there's a lot of channels out there, but I'm a little bit biased that I'd like to follow people that are developers first and have YouTube channels, because at the end of the day, I still want to be a developer that happens to have a YouTube channel. And probably someone's going to clip this, and then 3 months from now, when my channel has 1 million views and I'm making like stupid content, of like, oh, look, you changed your mind. But like to me, like that's important, is being part of the group of developers and watching content that developer. That's why I like that guy Jay Hurd Really good stuff.
No,
Yeah.
I was just mentioning him, just web dev Cody, because I'm just so happy for him. Like,
Yeah,
and he did
100%.
put a lot of work, so it's it ain't easy. It ain't
No, it's
easy.
definitely not easy. You know, um, the, like, yeah, somebody like told me like, oh, Paul, you're a YouTuber. And here's the funny thing. Like I started learning to code and doing YouTube at the same time. And guess what came faster? Me having a successful YouTube channel or me getting my first dev job?
Well, okay, define successful.
Making money to support my lifestyle.
Making money.
That's success,
okay, fair.
bro. I got a job as a dev. I was, well, not my first job, but my eventual job. I was able to support my lifestyle of, you know, extreme exuberance of my small apartment. I know somebody asked me, Ankita was saying to do apartment tour. I'll do that eventually. We got to clean it up first. You know, I got laundry here. You know, my cat's making a mess there. You know, but
yeah. Paul, it looks like you're running out of fuel. Might be time to end the video. you've been streaming for 90 minutes, sir.
Dude, I know it's a long time. I just want to say hello. Glad to like see you're doing good. Keep us posted on the course that you're making, and we got to do some more like live streams, like back and forth again, like we used to do. I think it's gonna be fun. I like all your tips today.
Thank you.
And what else? Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, I was gonna say, just completely off topic. Like what kind of, like, this is completely off topic. When you work out, because I know you work out, what kind of workout do you do and why? This is going to be my last question for you before I go.
You have to answer that question as well.
I will. I'll tell you.
I mean, just pretty much weightlifting mostly.
Yeah.
Squats,
Yeah.
deadlifts,
Yeah.
chest, shoulders, biceps.
Yeah.
Pretty standard stuff. I don't really do anything. I used to do a lot of those HIIT classes, wherever, where you're just like running around and doing a bunch of random stuff. But ever since
changed?
COVID, because of COVID, basically, like you couldn't really go to classes anymore. And then so now it's just mostly like lifting. What about you?
Follow-up question. If you had a choice, you could only do one: HIIT training or lifting?
I think I would do HIIT training, honestly. It's more fun.
Yeah.
Like to do a bunch but it's HIIT training also is part, like you also lift, so you get the best of both.
Different style.
Yeah, different style. Yeah.
All right. If you could do one exercise only, squats or deadlifts?
Squats.
God damn you. I would pick deadlifts.
Why?
Deadlift. So the issue I have with squats, like you really need to have really perfect form to do it. It's so easy to mess up, especially once you start lifting heavy. Deadlifts, you also need to have good form, just a little bit easier to mess up. Harder to mess up and a lot safer, because instead of the bar being over you, that could kill you. It's, you just drop it, let it go. But I've been going back to lifting. So right now I'm doing stuff more to like 10 to 12 reps, 5 sets, just to get like, to put on a little bit more muscle if I can. And twice a week I run just to like for my heart. And the biggest change for me has been, because I started again trending in the right direction in terms of losing weight, is at my age, really being conscious of carbohydrates is important. So I've been like doing that. It's pretty good.
Do you mean like reducing your carbohydrates, or
like really reducing? So I call it, somebody told me about this, like you eat incidental carbs, meaning like you would never buy bread to eat carbs because that's just dumb, or cake, or basically all the tasty things I like to eat. But if you do get your carbs, it's because you had like a salad. You get it out of vegetables. And so I basically eat mostly vegetables and meats. And I do agree with Nelson about 5x5. And after because I'm getting back to lifting weights, that's why I decided to do what I'm doing. After like 8 weeks, I'm going to switch to 5x5 for sure. It's just like makes more sense if you want to find like good balance between like strength and also not be like super bulky. It's good.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I've heard a lot. I heard a lot of good things about actually even reducing your red meat as well as you get older, just because,
yeah,
like, at least personally for me, I love red meat, but the next day it's just you just feel the after effects.
yeah.
And weirdly enough, it just sounds like you have to be vegan, which I love eating. Like, I love eating meat. That's the problem. So yeah,
I
it's something I debate with.
Yeah, it's hard. And I used to be in that space of like all the health freaks, and I knew a lot of dietitians. And one thing that's like, there's no like one glove fits all solution. So you definitely need to have a very personalized plan. Cause like one thing I was going to say, like for me, it's the opposite. Like the more like I don't eat like exorbitant amount of red meat. Like I try to eat fish, salmon, but to me, like the more fat and meat I eat, the better I feel, which is so counterintuitive, but just my body is able to function better.
I see.
And when I used to have that diet like 3 years ago, I weighed 148 pounds and like I had a six pack. As soon as I started eating more carb heavy, and maybe because I'm pre-diabetic at this point, more carb loaded foods and less like fat and meats. And like I'm talking about good fats and stuff. Like the more weight I gain. And so it's so counterintuitive. Like if you see what I eat now, people are like, Jesus, that's so like terrible, but I'm losing weight. My bad cholesterol is going down. And I think different bodies respond to different things. It's pretty wild. WebDev Cody had a question. What projects do you work on at AWS Tech Rally and how do you enjoy it?
Oh, interesting. I actually don't work for AWS. I work in video advertising. But
nice.
Yeah, it's good. We work on a lot of complex, very futuristic stuff, I think, for the advertising space. So really looking forward to seeing if any of this stuff is gonna be live in the upcoming year or next year. So yeah, just be on the lookout.
Yeah, Dana asked a question. Hold on, I have to bring it back. Paul, are you on the carnivore diet, like extreme meat only? No, not at all. Like I do eat a lot of vegetables. So I eat probably like 70% vegetables, 30% like protein, like meats. And so that's my diet. But I avoid any like unnecessary carbohydrates that I can. I think not eating vegetables is terrible unless you have like some medical reason. So I know a lot of people like to talk good things about carnivore diet only, but I don't think that is healthy in long term for sure. And
you don't want to be like the Liver King?
I'm just gonna eat straight up live cats. That's gonna be my diet. Cat diet is gonna become a new fad. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, look how shredded he is. He just eats kittens. How can you not be shredded?" You know. And I know we're trying to end the stream. Yeah, I know. Like we're trying to end the stream, but Cody had another question. Oh, he just thought you worked at AWS, but no worries.
No,
yeah.
I was always at video advertising. Yeah. AWS is like a separate team.
Yeah. Amazon is huge. You know, it's like it's kind of crazy. But anyway, I know like. I'm sure Alex has better things to do. It's like really awesome to catch up and chat with you. And everybody in the chat, thank you so much for jumping in. I hope you had fun like Alex and I did. Check out Tech Rally's channel. Check out Cody's channel. Don't check out my channel because you're already here. You know what to expect. Nothing, just complete unprofessional behavior, which is fine by me. But with that being said, everybody have a great rest of the weekend. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Cody, for jumping in. Thank you all in the chat. Bye, everyone.
Bye.